Welcome to Toffee TV. It is that time again. Match preview for the first game of the season. Jack and myself will look forward to the home game versus Fulham on Saturday. A nice 3 o'clock Saturday kickoff to start the season, Jack. How excited are you?
It's good to be back, isn't it? Feels like the breaks flew by. Felt like it was only yesterday we were doing these previews and every week going, we really need to win this one. We really need to win today. So not only is it nice to be back, but it's nice to, not have the entire season living and dying on a result for once.
You say that. No, obviously there's not the same kind of pressure that we faced just, 9 weeks ago, clearly. But saying that, Everton have got a potentially decent start ahead of them to the season when looking at the fixtures, and Fulham at home represents a fantastic chance to get off to a good start. Listen, we know what Everton have done in the summer and what they're continuing to try to do. It's not quite there right now, but Fulham haven't exactly had a straightforward summer either, have they? The threat of losing players, re-signing players. Probably haven't got the players they want in yet. So, and even the manager, Silva, looked like he was being tempted to go over to Saudi Arabia. So it's been an interesting time at Fulham.
It's been far from ideal, hasn't it? Obviously, they have got players through the door, but there's been a lot of chatter around Mitrovic, one of their key men. Is he moving to Saudi? Is he staying? Is he going? Willian, they thought he was going. Now he's back. Now he might be going again. Again, Silva, like you say. So it's, they've not had a disastrous window. They've still got them all here. But it's been far from ideal, and it will affect their preparation, having all that concern around some of their key players, won't it?
Yeah, as you mentioned there, obviously Mitrovic kicked up a big fuss, said he wanted to go, got a fantastic, life-changing offer to go to Saudi Arabia, obviously. He said he'd never play for the club again. He's come back into the fold, as I don't know whether the interest went away and he had to, or Fulham just stayed firm with it. I don't know, but he has come back into the fold. He is available for the game. Whether he's 100% fit because he's missed games, we don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But he's obviously a player that we'd love to not be involved with the side this weekend.
Yeah, definitely, because he's their key man. He was key for them last season, especially in that first half of the season where they really were flying high. Obviously, they did tail off a little bit towards the end, but Mitrovic is that guaranteed quality for them. He's that goal threat, and he is one of the better strikers in the league, really. I'd go as far as saying. So if he's potentially not involved at the weekend, obviously got 20 minutes off the bench in their last season of their last friendly of pre-season. So he might feature at the weekend, but he probably won't be at full fitness, so that is an advantage to Everton straight away.
Yeah, let's just hear what Silva said about Mitrovic's involvement for the weekend.
Because Mitrovic is reported to have said to friends and family that he would never play for Fulham again. He has, of course. He played in the last friendly. Is he available to play? Will he be selected to play at Everton?
100% sure. Mitro was able to play last week 2 games. He played behind closed doors 60 minutes against Hoffenheim. We played 2 games against Hoffenheim last week, and after played 30 minutes against Hoffenheim again at Cottage. And we wanted to give at least 19 for him, but in 2 days, and we did it like we did with Andrés Pereira, not just with him, like we did with Tim Ream as well. And that's it. And this week again, working every single day with his teammates, and that's it. He's ready to play if I'm going to decide to start with him or not.
There you go. Marco Silva, as enlightening as ever, fully animated there. I'm talking about Mitrovic. Let's just have a little look at Mitrovic's numbers from last season anyway. There you go. 14 goals in 24 games. Obviously had a huge ban as well last season, but come back towards the end of the season and obviously started scoring again. Obviously missed the game against Everton at Goodison Park, but obviously they won. But if he doesn't start, obviously they have got Jimenez that they just brought in from Wolves, who at first when he signed, I thought he was going to be the replacement because he looked like an ideal replacement. But now it looks like they're going to be fighting it out for that place. Let's have a look at Jimenez's number from last season. played 15 games, no goals for Jimenez last season. A very difficult season for him, and obviously Wolves as a team struggled to score goals last season, Jack. But what are your thoughts on Jimenez starting the game?
Jimenez is a player who a couple of years ago looks like a great striker. He was a great striker. He was very prolific for Wolves, and around that time he also suffered a very bad injury, didn't he? And since then he's came back, and it seems like for one reason or another, he didn't really get that goal scoring form back. But then he did score the other day for Fulham in a pre-season friendly. If you look at his stats there, which we've just had up, obviously not impressive. 0 goals, but only 2.6 XG, still a big underperformance. But it also shows that he wasn't exactly blessed with chances at Wolves. You know, they weren't the most attacking, forward-thinking side either. Maybe at Fulham, if he gets more chances, he can get that confidence again. He has hit the back of the net for them already. Maybe that's the confidence boost he needs to get back to the level he was.
The thing about it is obviously, if they're going to play with Jimenez and they're used to Mitrovic, then he's going to get a lot of joy out of that. So, listen, I remember this debut for Wolves against Everton, so I'm not writing the fella off by any means. He is a good backup for Mitrovic. If you know Mitrovic ends up leaving, then he could be a good backup. I don't think he's going to score as many goals as Mitrovic did last season. He had a fantastic season, but he is an ideal candidate just because of his, certainly, you know, his prowess in the air.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously a lot can be said about his injury. Is that what caused him to fall off from the level he was at? But I think there's a lot to be said about a change of scenery for him as well, and maybe that's what he needed. He'd been at Wolves for a while. He was linked with moves away while he was there, you know, moves to bigger clubs. They obviously never materialised, but he had been there a while. Wolves had definitely hit a ceiling in terms of what they were doing and accomplishing in the Premier League. So things were going a little bit stale there, and maybe now, you know, he's got to move, new manager, new club. He can maybe just find that motivation again. Maybe that's what he's missing. I think this will tell us a lot about Jimenez. You know, is it the injury that's took it off him? Is it just his age? Or was it a mental thing? Did he need to get out of Wolves where it had gone stale, and now he can be that striker again?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the last couple of weeks of the transfer window as well. You know, being open, and obviously you mentioned before Willian, who's been linked as well with a move away. Well, you know, have they settled down because it's the beginning of the season, and you know they've got to, and will that noise continue? One player they have brought in as well is Bassey from Ajax. Obviously, went from Rangers to Ajax not so long ago, and now he's come into Fulham. There was a lot of talk that they were actually going to go for Yerry Mina. But they've gone for Bassey, and he's a good, strong, powerful player to have back there.
Yeah, definitely. It didn't really work for him at Ajax, but it didn't really work for a lot of players who came into Ajax over the last year or two. They were struggling just all across the board, but you know, he's a big physical presence. He's decent in the air, very fast for a centre-back. He's strong, can play at left-back as well, so he has got that physical side in him. He was very good for Rangers, did very well in their Europa League campaign a couple of seasons back. That's probably largely what got him that move to Ajax in the first place. There is a good player in there. I think it's just about figuring out what type of centre-back he wants to be. He's not actually been playing as a centre-back for that long. That's something that more came towards the end of his spell at Rangers. So he's still learning that role. Obviously, he's in his early 20s, but he's not got that much experience playing centre-back. So he's learning on the job, and he's going to continue to grow to be a good player.
Yeah, it's a decent signing for him moving forward. And as I said, it's going to be an interesting season for Fulham this season, just because the second season in the Premier League, I do think they overachieved last season, and it almost felt like everything Mitrovic did ended up in the back of the net, and it's whether they get that luck. I think a lot of people took them, were taken by surprise by them last season. In you go back to the first game of the season when they drew, I think 2-2 with Liverpool. I don't think people were surprised by Fulham as they played, but also by how well Mitrovic adapted being back in the Premier League. Maybe people will give him a little bit more attention this season if he stays, and we'll treat him like one of the other top strikers in the league, and make sure whether man marked or just set it up more likely to stop him.
Yeah, well, the last time Fulham were in the Premier League, Mitrovic hardly featured, did he? Yeah. When Scott Parker was the manager, he weren't interested in him, didn't trust him, didn't think he suited the way he wanted to play. Now, obviously, Silva sees how good this striker is. did amazing for them in the Championship this season. He did come up and he's obviously carried that over. If he is given more attention, he's treated like the top striker a lot of people think he is. Maybe his goals do come down a bit, especially if he's not fully committed to Fulham at the moment. If he's looking at Fulham and thinking, do I really want to be here? Maybe that's another thing. You mentioned Fulham as well. Will they be given more respect this year? I think that's quite possible. On the other side of that is they might actually be weaker this year if they do lose. Obviously, Polina, he's out at the weekend, but he is a key player for them. He could be off to West Ham. Mitrovic and Willian both potentially out the door as well. So they could end this summer weaker than they were last year, but be given the respect and treated like a bigger threat than people thought they were a year ago as well, which isn't a great combination for Fulham.
It's always that thing, isn't it? If you have a good season, people will always come and look for your players. If you can't replace those players, if you're not ready to replace them or don't already have the backups at the club ready to go, it's always going to be difficult, especially if you leave it late. And that's where money sometimes talks for the owners. But we'll wait and see. Let's have a little look at Fulham side from their last pre-season game. So there you go. You've got Jimenez up front, Wilson behind, Willian in there as well. Bobby Reed in there as well. So a lot of players from last season, Callum Bassey and Diop at centre back, and obviously Leno in goal. So the crux of that team is the same so there'll be I don't think there'll be any real surprises for Everton coming into this game. They'll know what they're up against. They'll know the style Fulham will want to play. There's a lot of balls into the box, a lot of crosses, but there's also good football as well. Nice little movements, and of course, if Wilson does start, you've always got to be wary of him. He's a great striker of the ball, set pieces. He's dangerous on, and will love a goal against Everton again, being an ex-Red. So, just moving on to obviously Everton. I mean, there's question marks over Dominic Calvert-Lewin. The manager has said that the game program hasn't played out yet, so he's not. He ruled them out of starting the game, and they wasn't 100% whether he'd be on the bench. But do you think that's just the manager being cute? Do you think he'll start the game?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Calvert-Lewin starts, and I think if Sean Dyche can out the opposition thinking that Calvert-Lewin isn't playing, and maybe to expect Maupay instead, then they've prepared for a very different threat from what they're getting. So, yeah, that wouldn't shock me at all. I'd be very shocked if he started and then played the full 90 minutes. Yeah. But, yeah, I could definitely see Calvert-Lewin starting and getting an hour. And that hour might be all we need to get a goal ahead and get in front and see it out. But I think if you've got him fit, you do have to play him. I get the whole thing of not rushing him back and everything like that. But he has got pre-season minutes under his belt. He's not completely fully match fit, but he is fit to play. It's
difficult though, isn't it? Because with other players, you would say, well, they're fit to play, they've got minutes under the belt. But obviously, it's Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and it's that nagging worry of everything that's gone on in the last 2 years. And I know Sean Dyche has talked about him being on a better programme now, and he's gone over to Germany and worked on his fitness. So, he looked all right against Sporting at the weekend. And, yeah, it's going to be an interesting one for whether he starts or not. And obviously, I think one of the other issues Everton will face, or certainly a headache for Sean Dyche, is who will he start at centre-back. Obviously, he's confirmed James Tarkowski will start the game, which is great. But who do you think, or who do you want for him to play next to?
Well, who I want and who I think, two quite different answers. For who I wanted, I'd love to see Jarrod Branthwaite. I'd like to see him get that chance, and for us to put that faith in him, going, yeah, you've had a great loan spell last year, you've impressed us, you're a young lad, you can slot into that left centre-back position. We're going to give you a chance here, going to give you a chance to be our centre-back for the next 10 years. In terms of what I think will happen, it wouldn't shock me at all to see Michael Keane. Yeah. I mean, we've seen him picked over Connor Cody and Yerry Mina last year, and he did make mistakes in that time, but he's obviously a player Dyche likes to an extent. Yerry Mina and Connor Cody are both gone now. Yeah. Does that sort of push Michael Keane up ahead of Jarrod Branthwaite, who's unproven to Sean Dyche and didn't have a full pre-season with us either? I think for me, I wouldn't be shocked at all if Keane plays at least the first game of the season.
I think. See, on the Keane situation, for me, after what happened at Leicester last season, and then being taken out, I think the manager is aware that he's limited, and there will be games Keane will play. Keane steady player, doesn't get injured, and he gives you that. You know what you're getting from him. Now, that might be enough for some games, but for others, clearly it won't be. I think he'll go in the middle. I think he'll start he'll start Ben Godfrey again after what starting him against Sporting. I think that was, to me, was a big indicator of what he wanted to do. I think the pace and the physicality of Ben Godfrey could be important if used correctly. Again, I'm more in the Branthwaite, just because I think the three of them will make mistakes. I'd rather a young lad who can learn from those mistakes, and can grow and have someone like James Tarkowski next to him, can grow into a Premier player, play every single week and build on that, like we've seen with other, like the likes of John Stones, who's the last one who really did it properly. But for me, he would be my starter, but I've just got a feeling as well that Ben Godfrey will start. So sort of in the middle of those two. It'd be interesting. Obviously, you've got Patterson, who's fit, who'll start at right back. You'd imagine Ashley Young would start at left back as well.
Yeah, Dai seems to trust him, doesn't he? He's featured a lot in pre-season, and I think if Coleman's absent, having Young in for that leadership and that voice as well, that's the other side of it. So yeah, I'd expect Young to start, especially against Fulham, who, don't have loads of pace on the flanks. You could probably get away with starting an older player in what Young is. If, Fulham are coming at you with a rapid right winger, maybe you want Michaelenko in there for fresher legs. But I think first game of the season, your captain's not featuring. It's good to have Young in there for that experience. And then especially if you've got Branthwaite next to him as well, it'd be good to have an older head in the back line to help him through that game.
Yeah, that could be an important point. If he starts on the left, and you've got him in between two people who are going to talk him through the game, so that'll be interesting. But I think everyone just wants us to start off on the right foot, don't they? Last season it was a bit different. We were playing Chelsea. I think a lot of people expected more from Chelsea last season, so losing in the way we did didn't feel like the end of the world. But this, our first two home games, you're looking at them going, it's an opportunity to get 6 points there. And after what we've been through in the last couple of seasons, I think it's important we do get off to a good start. So, let's do it right. Let's get the 3 points, and then that's obviously the best way possible to start a new season. And then it gives you, all the stuff with the transfer market and everything else. It gives you that little bit of breathing space if you're picking up points as well. Takes the pressure off the people doing the deals. Especially if Dom's involved, suddenly that pressure that's being on the club to sign players just dissipates a little bit. The people being vocal about it, they're not bothered. They're so happy they've won a game of footy that all that just seems to fade into the background. Yeah,
and the other side of that is as well, if we do manage to get points in before we've even signed some of these players, it puts less pressure on them coming in. Because in January, when we were linked with players, every player we were linked with, there was that thing attached of, can this be the player to save Everton from relegation? Yeah. If we can be in a comfortable position before we sign anyone, it goes, okay, well, we're doing all right already. We're going to be even stronger now. It's less a case of, okay, this is the player coming in and we're betting on them to improve this team and make them survive.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 3 points. That's the win. Just win a game of footy. Dead easy. Won the last one at Goodison, win the next one at Goodison. There you go. Let us know your thoughts in the comments on this one. Are you optimistic? How are you feeling ahead of the first game of the season? And tell us who you'd like us, or where you think we should be strengthening as well. Let us know in the comments. Make sure to check out the season preview me and Baz have done. Make sure to check out the press box season preview with me and Joe Thomas from the Echo as well. The starting 11 as well will be available in the next day or so. Make sure you check that out. And obviously all the reaction videos after the game on Saturday. Check them out as well. Make sure to give this video a like, subscribe if you haven't already. If you want more great videos, join us over on Toffee TV Premier. The link is in the description and the QR code's coming on the screen now. See you later.